Hey, this is Trey Kay, host of West Virginia Public Broadcasting's podcast, Us and Them. 2 days after the 2024 presidential election, we brought together the Us and Them dinner party. Now, since the run-up of the 2020 election, we've gathered together 8 West Virginians, 4 conservative and 4 liberal, diverse in age, gender, and race, to gather together for a meal and talk about the issues that divide us. This year's gathering was our most honest and emotionally charged to date. Tensions ran high at the table, mirroring the atmosphere in households across the country. The emotions were still raw from the election, and we asked our guests to speak their minds. When we last met, those of us who were here, we said that there was an election coming up and some of us were going to feel elated and some of us were not going to feel so great. So I guess my first question is, just to throw it out to the group, what do you think about the outcome of the election?
The economy spoke. Looking at the exit polls from the key swing states, 80% of the people surveyed in the exit polls from NBC, Fox, all around, said that the economy was their number one issue, and that's what drove them. Money talks, and that was what the message I got from that was.
It's interesting now, and this always happens after presidential elections. I feel like now everyone feels they can talk. I see that from the pundits and everything.
I didn't hear that. Everybody
feels like they can talk, like the pundits and everything, and everyone can have critiques for everything. I do think that there is merit to the economic argument. I think a lot of it. I think the other thing is I wish that the Harris campaign had articulated more when they said an economy for everybody, what that meant. It's interesting. You have to kind of do more of understanding what people's positions were, because it was kind of shocking to me the amount of. I mean, he gained in every the former president gained in every state. Right. You see it in California, every county he gained in, and I read the demographics of it where the vice president led with college-educated individuals, people making over $100,000. She added to it, and then the individuals making less than $100,000, non-college educated, which make up 60% of the electorate. I mean, it was completely the other way, and I think the messaging had to be clear. But
what about for you? Did you find that surprising? Or
I found it interesting that the other compelling issues, like women's reproductive rights, did not cut into that as much, or the former president's legal issues did not weigh him down more. It almost seemed in certain areas people didn't care, or people tended to think that they were inherently false, or it was. I started hearing about 12 hours after the election was called this concept, well, now the machine cannot attack him anymore. Like this abstract thing that existed. It was really this collection of the political oligarchy that was going after him. And I was trying to figure out where that was coming from, and I had avoided his interview on Joe Rogan's podcast, and then they articulated that it was a machine that was coming after him, and now it's going to go away because he was elected president. So it was just, it's an abstract concept. I don't really know what that means, but it just seemed, I don't know. I'm still trying to make sense of it myself. So.
One thing that was shocking to me, you mentioned, college education is, and I'm going to mention Pennsylvania quite a lot tonight because it was ultimately the deciding state. You saw how much money both sides poured into it. Center County, Pennsylvania, which is the home of Pennsylvania State University, it went for Harris, but ever so slightly. She did not enjoy as large of a margin as Biden did 4 years ago. With a college campus, the largest university in Pennsylvania, a lot of people went for President Trump there. And for a while, it was a red county. There were people, there was just some absentee vote that came in that changed it over, but ever so slightly. I mean, the margin for Biden 4 years ago there was over 5%. This year, it was within 1% for Harris.
So the last time we were here, we had placemats that were red and blue, and I thought that we would kind of add something that maybe was a little bit like the fall season. So, but the people who would be sitting at the blue placemats haven't spoken yet. So I'm wondering, like, how are you guys feeling about the election?
Terrible. What I don't understand is how people who get so emotional over the military ignored the warnings of all of the top military brass. People who cared about the economy ignored all of the warnings by economists, and sympathy for poor, oppressed billionaires took over. So that was a strange thing to me. To believe that a billionaire is oppressed, and that people are and that he's unable to protect himself from the onslaught of the ordinary citizens is very strange to me. I haven't seen an oppressed billionaire yet. So they can't bother him anymore is, it's a very strange construct to me.
Strange, but is it strange, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, it happened. It happened. I mean, somehow his campaign was able to make people feel bad and feel like he is the one who got locked out, and he is the one who is oppressed. And the criminal processes that have been fine for everybody else over these years, that there's a grand jury indictment that you as the defendant don't present before the grand jury, that there's a secret grand jury that then renders its indictment, and then there's a jury trial. But all of that, people don't know about that, it seems, and so when it happened in the ordinary way, nobody believes that he got treated fairly. Well, everybody who's sitting in our prisons got treated the same way, and yet it's hard to imagine that this is the one that people have picked up on to say that, that, oh my gosh, he's been oppressed.
Hey, thanks for listening to this. We who've been working on the Us and Them project for the past decade believe that division and polarization in America is the issue of our times. We're here to wrap our arms and our minds around this challenge. In a splintered world, we believe that listening is one of the last bridges we have towards understanding.